Hello and welcome to this session in which we will discuss the concept of hashing and cipher techniques as it relates to the CPA exam information systems and control. In the prior session, we looked at encryption as a topic. In this session, we're going to focus mostly on hashing. Then we'll look at cipher techniques as it relates to encryption. Let's assume you want to sign up for a new website. What do you do first? You create an account, and usually your email is your login, or you can choose your own login. Doesn't have to be your email. Then you have to choose a password. Now the password that you choose will give you access, because practically anyone can know your email address. If you email someone, they know your email address. So it's really protecting your access to a particular website, like your bank information, your financial information at your brokerage firm, your educational record. They're all protected by this password. So the password is important. The question is, how is that password stored in a secured method? In other words, when you choose your password, you input some sort of a password. Who's going to see this password? Where is this password stored? And is that storage secure? And this is what we will discuss in this session. And this is where we will introduce the concept of hashing. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, FarhatLectures.com.
Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today.
So one way to store the password is to store the password in plain text. So if you choose a password, for example, tennis, capital tennis, 542 exclamation point. This is the password that you choose. One way for the web administrator is to store this password as a plain text, the least secure method where the passwords are stored exactly as you type them. Now this is dangerous. Why? Because anyone who gains access to the database, they can see your password clearly, which is tennis 5421 exclamation point. So a single hack can lead to a massive leak of users' credential. So I can tell you right now, companies don't do that. Okay, that's plain stupid. Another way is through encryption. A setup encryption scrambles your password using a key that can decrypt it back into its original form. So what they would do is, when you type your password, they will transfer it through a decryption key into something else. They could transfer it into free trial. Okay? So when someone look up the password, it looks like free trial. That's all what it says. It's a free trial, but that's not your password. But if you have a key, you can take a key, input the key into the free trial. It will take you back to tennis 542 exclamation point. So if the hacker obtained both the encrypted password and the decryption key, then they can see your password. Your password could also be compromised as long as they can get the decryption key and they can access the encrypted password and they can see your actual password. Again, what does that mean? It means there's a risk of your password being exposed. Here we introduce the concept of hashing. Hashing changes the game by scrambling your password into a hash value, a form that cannot be decrypted. So once you choose a password, the system kind of scrambled your password into some value, hash value, but that value, it can never be decrypted. It can never be revealed. This means if someone accesses the hash, they cannot reverse engineer your original password. And hashing ensures your credential remain a mystery even for the website administrator. So let's assume your password is Farhat with a capital F. It's a weak password, obviously. You don't want your password as my last name, Farhat. But let's assume I chose a password Farhat on a website. Yes, it's a weak password, but that's beside the point. Here's what's going to happen. Once I input the password, the system will hash it and will give it a value *TRK, all capital 04, and that's the hash value. So hashing transfer your password through a one-way process using hash functions. And those are algorithm performing mathematical operation to turn your password into a hash value. Now, how it went from Farhat to this, it's an algorithm, okay? But unlike encryption, there is no way of going back to the original password. What does that mean? It means even if someone entered into the database and accessed the database and they see this hash value is not decryptable. You cannot see that my password is Farhat. You see this, and this doesn't make any sense. It cannot be decrypted. Now hold on a second. If it cannot be decrypted, how would the system know? Well, here's how it works. The system knows as long as you put the word Farhat, capital F, it takes you through the system, and Farhat is the key to this. So your password is the key to the hash value. But your hash value is not key back to your password. So it's a one-way street. Let me give you an analogy. Hopefully it will make the point. Consider hashing as making a complex recipe into a smoothie. How does it work? You take various ingredients, the input, orange, banana, watermelon, the fruits, the vegetables. You put some milk with it and you blend them all together into a smoothie. The smoothie becomes the hash value. So you have some input and you blend them. The blending process is one way. Once everything is mixed into this blender, you cannot separate the ingredient back into the original form. And I hope you can see clearly physically the picture. Once you put something in a blender and the blender smashes them, you cannot go back and separate them. So in the context of data security, think of the ingredient as your sensitive information, your password. Once the password is transferred into a smoothie, you have a unique result that cannot be reversed to figure out exactly what or how much of the ingredient you used. You can't go back and see the password. You can't go back and see Farhat. So if you have a specific recipe, the hashing algorithm, you can make a smoothie that looks and tastes the same every time you follow the recipe with the same ingredient, but you cannot reverse engineer the smoothie to those ingredients. So simply put, if you have the word Farhat with a capital F, those are the secret ingredient. You put them in, it's going to give you the output. It's going to say, yes, your password is correct. But you cannot take the output and reverse it back. And that's what hashing is. So when someone claims they had followed your recipe, sending data that supposedly matches yours, you can make a smoothie. You can take the recipe, whatever they send you, said, okay, this is what we used. You can make the smoothie, with the recipe, following the same recipe with the expected ingredient. Now, if both smoothies look and taste the same, basically you compare the hash value, you can be confident that the recipe was followed correctly, verifying the integrity and the authenticity of the data sent. So hashing could also be used when you submit data. When you submit the data to another party, they want to make sure that data has integrity. It's the same data that they expect. You will check it against the hash value. If it matches 100%, then the data has integrity. So hashing, now we get to the definition of it, is a process that transfers any input message into a fixed size string of character. Now I use the password because you guys all can relate to a password process, which is known as a hash value or message digest. So when you create an account, the website runs your password through a hash function, storing the resulting hash value. So for every login attempt, the website hashes the entered password and checks to see if it matches the stored hash. This way, the actual password will never be stored or ever known by the website. So even if you're a member of Farhat Lectures, I don't know your password. The web administrator don't know your password, because once you input your password turned into a hash value. That's it. It's hidden, turned into a smoothie. And the only one who would know the ingredient of that smoothie is you. So once you input your password again, well, you make the smoothie again. If the smoothie tastes the same, now I'm getting hungry, smells the same ingredient is being used, you have access, your password is good. This way, safeguarding your privacy, even in the event of a data breach. Hashing is also useful for verifying the authenticity of data. This is what I told you earlier. By comparing hash value of the received message, if you have a message means could be financial message, data, with the hash value of the original message, one can confirm the data's integrity, that whatever they're sending me in data, it has not been changed, the data has integrity. Since hashes are unique to their original data, a different input produces a different hash, so you cannot change anything in that message. Even a small change in the message would result completely in a different hash value. So the message has to be 100% matching. In practice, hashing and encryption together are used to enhance security. And we're going to look at an example. A message might be encrypted for secure transmission. Remember, we talked about encryption in the prior session. It's for secure transmission, and hash, making sure the message that you sent, confirm it's exactly that message. So upon receiving, the recipient decrypts the message through the encryption, then hashes it. Compare this hash value with the sender hash value. If they both match, you know the message is 100% matching. If the hashes match, it confirms both the message authenticity and integrity. So hashing deals with integrity. The message authenticity, it means it's the original message that was sent. That's the original message that you received. An example of this is in secured online transaction. When you make a payment, your payment details are encrypted for confidentiality. Also, the transaction details might be hashed and the hash sent alongside to the recipient. Then the recipient takes this hash, runs your message, and see if it matches their hash. Upon receipts, the payment processor decrypts the detail and rehashes them to ensure that what you sent is exactly what they received, confirming the transaction integrity without compromising sensitive information. Let's move from hashing to Cipher Techniques. Cipher Technique utilizes encryption, which we talked about in the prior session, encryption algorithm to transfer clear, understandable message into encrypted output, typically a mix of numbers and letters that seem random or doesn't make any sense, incomprehensible, without a decryption key. So this is called Cipher Techniques. When you do that, this is what ciphering the message. While some ciphered methods, there are many methods, might appear straightforward, deciphering them without the key, without the ingredient, without the secret code is usually very challenging, especially when various cipher techniques are combined. Now, for the sake of the CPA exam, most likely you have to know what ciphering is. It's just basically, it's the technique used to scramble a message. I'm going to show you a couple ciphering techniques on a basic level, just FYI, for the CPA exam. That's all what you need to know. This is not a networking course. This is not a programming course. I'm not a programmer. I'm not an IT person. I am in the CPA business, accounting business. So we have the substitution ciphers. This method involved replacing each character in the original message, the plain text, with a different character according to a specific system or key. So simple version might swap one letter for another letter directly, whereas more complex version uses mathematical operations. So this can be simple or this can be complex. For example, the modulo operation can turn letters or numbers into different numeric value which represent the encrypted message. So this numeric value can be converted back to letters during decryption using the corresponding key. Let me show you an example to show you how simple in concept that is. Imagine we decide to encrypt a message hello by shifting each letter 3 places forward in the alphabet. So H becomes K, E becomes H, L becomes O, and O becomes R. So the original message hello would read core after encryption. Now in this case, H is K, E is H, L is O, O is R, and what we do now is we can decrypt the message. We can replace everything. We have actually, remember we have 2 L's. We simply reverse the process, shifting each letter 3 places back. So the secret ingredient is take each letter and shift it back 3. So you take the K, shift it back 3, H shifted back 3, O shifted back 3, O shifted back 3, and R shifted back 3. So you can figure out that the word is hello. And the word could be anything. You could have a whole paragraph. You could have a paper. You could have a message. And no one would know how to read this message. It will look all scrambled unless they know. They have to go back 3 places. Now, it can be more complex. You can be, you know, the first letter, you go back 3 places. The second one, 2 places. The third one, 4 places. And you could just the algorithm will work this, it gets very, very complicated where you cannot decrypt this. You cannot read it unless you have the key. Also, there's the transposition ciphers. Again, there are many different types of ciphers. These ciphers encrypt by rearranging the character of a plain text. Rather than substituting character, the original message order is shuffled according to a defined rule, often utilize a matrix for columnar transposition. This means the letters themselves stay the same, but their position change, making the message unreadable without knowing the method of the rearrangement. Again, let's take a look at an example to see how this works. So a basic method called the rail fence cipher, which is a type of this transposition, it rearranges the letter of a plain text without changing them, but alters their position based, for example, here on a zigzag pattern. It doesn't have to be zigzag, it could be any pattern. For example, we have the word simple. The process, we will use two row system for this example, arranging the letter in a zigzag. So the first layer, SMLIPE. So SMLIPE. So we don't know how to read them except that it's a zigzag. Simple. If we zigzag them, we know it's simple. So we write down the letters in two lines, altering between the first and the second rail. By reading off each rail in order, the encrypted message becomes SMLIPE, which doesn't make any sense. With the decryption, we know it's a zigzag. The receiver would need to know that it's a two-rail cipher was used. Then what we'll do is we'll take those three and we not decipher them, just put them in two rows, divide the message into two parts of equal length, and alternate placing the letters back in their original zigzag pattern, reconstructing the original message. Again, this could be, I use the word simple to tell you this is a simple example, but it doesn't have to be a simple example. It could be a complex example with a complex pattern. But that's how it works, the transposition ciphers. Once again, there are many different ciphers. On the CPA exam, you just need to be familiar with the basic concepts. Let's take a look at this multiple choice questions from farhatlectures.com. What is a key characteristic of substitution ciphers that makes them distinct from transposition ciphers? So what's the difference between substitution ciphers then transposition ciphers? Let's look at each choice. They encrypt data by rearranging its element. Is this the key characteristic of substitution? Does it rearrange the data? No, rearranging the data is transposition, not substitution. A is out. They replace each element of the plain text with another element. Is this a key characteristic of substitution? Yeah, from the definition that sounds like that, replacing each element, substitution. I would keep B as a potential good answer. They can only encrypt numerical data. You can encrypt any data you want to. It doesn't have to be numerical. You could be numerical. It can be alphabetical. So C is out. They do not use keys for encryption. Incorrect. Substitution ciphers do indeed use keys to encrypt, because you need to know what's the substitution. What's the substitution key to replace the one that you're seeing into the proper character. So D is out. Therefore, as we expected, B is the correct answer. What should you do now? You want to go to Farhat Lectures, look at additional MCQs. That's going to help you, whether you're studying for your CPA exam, accounting courses, or some other professional certification. Invest in yourself. Good luck, study hard, and of course, stay safe.